Hello and welcome to a very special cover story interview. We have with us former election commissioner Shahabuddin Yaqub Qureshi. Qureshi Saab also written his, I think, second book, The Population Myth. It's on Islam, family planning and politics in India. It is a game-changing book where he actually tries to bust some myths about Muslims and their concept of family planning, and also whether there is this huge conspiracy on behalf of the Muslims to overtake the Hindu population by and regain political control by producing more kids. So it's a very hotly debated topic and a book I think that is much needed. So welcome Qureshi Saab. First of all, congratulations on your book. And pehle bataiye, what was the need? Why did you feel the need to bring out such a book?
Actually, the book started almost accidentally. I had no intention of writing such a book. In 1995, long back, but 25 years ago, UNFPA country director at that time, he was a Canadian. He came to meet me and he said, hey, Muslims have very poor family planning and can you write an approach paper for us? So I was quite surprised. I said, I'm neither a family planning expert, never having worked in that department, nor am I an Islamic scholar. So what will I write? So, but he got after. He said, no, we know you can do it. And offered me a very lucrative consultancy, which I declined. I said, I'll do it pro bono for 1 rupee. And but I went ahead and did that study. And it was eye-opening for me. Because that was the time when we had these myths that Muslims produce too many children. They are solely responsible for population explosion. And there is total...
Which year was this? When was this?
This was in 95. And in fact, interestingly, my inner voice told me that I should not charge any money, and it turned out to be true because 5 years later, I was staying with my daughter in her hostel in London. When I got a call from one Dr. Qureshi, the President Muslim Doctors Association of UK. And he said, Mr. Qureshi, we have read your paper and we have some issues to discuss. The tone was almost threatening. And I didn't want to get beaten up in London. So I said, sorry, I have my flight tomorrow. So the guys came to the airport. And their first sentence still rings in my mind. They said, Mr. Qureshi, family planning is a Western conspiracy against Islam. And they hire mercenaries like you through UN agencies to write such papers. Every charge would have stuck if I had taken the money. So since I had not, I then pounced on them. I said, look, the Western world may be anti-Islam for political reasons, but this cannot be the conspiracy. And of course, they said, they read that. I said, I'll read everything, but please don't doubt my motives and intentions. So they never came back to me. But I found this topic extremely important. And after that, for the last 25 years, I was trying to upgrade it into a book on the suggestion of my friends and on my own initiative. And every time I was close to finishing the book, the new National Family Health Survey data will come out because there have been 4 so far. The 5th one is around the corner. So NFHS, every 5-7 years, this data comes. So and every time then I was scared I'll go back to the table and see whether my data, my conclusions have changed. In fact, they were only getting reaffirmed and confirmed. So that is how finally the time came, and or sometimes I postpone the publication of it because politically not suitable time. Then I realized, and my friends advised me that any time is suitable. In fact, we are already too late, 25 years too late. Because this polarization campaign, the hate campaign among the Muslim against the Muslim, that these guys are multiplying deliberately to overtake the Hindus. So that has been going on, and many people have bought it. And frankly, even I had almost believed it till I discovered the truth for myself.
Let's talk a bit about what you've written in the book. Some of the myths that you've addressed. One is that Muslim population is upsetting India's demographic balance, that the Muslims are producing too many children.
Yes. It is true. My book starts with 2 admissions. One, that Muslims have the least family planning and they have the highest total fertility rate. Now, what is the total fertility rate, or TFR for short, is the number of children a woman will bear in a lifetime, TFR. So Muslim TFR at the moment is the highest, 2.6. That means 2.6 children every Muslim woman will bear. And for the Hindus, it is 2.1. But you will notice that the gap is less than half a child. In fact, even 30 years ago, the gap was never more than one child. But the impression created, even in my mind, that if a Hindu family has 2 children, Muslims have 8 or 10 children. That is the impression people carry. The gap was never more than one child, which has now come down to half a child. Why is the gap declining? Because Muslims are adopting family planning much faster than the Hindus, which is a great development, which is a very nice thing to happen. And the gap is narrowing. So, number one, I start with an admission of confession that yes, Muslims have the least family planning. But what is not brought out by the critics is that the second least family planning is among the Hindus. Muslims have 45% of all Muslims that have adopted family planning. But 54% of Hindus have adopted. That means half the Hindus have not adopted family planning. Whereas if you compare with the Sikhs, they are 80% family planning. So that's why, this myth that only Muslims are contributing to population explosion, one, that's wrong. But demographic balance is getting skewed. I have started with a confession. Yes, 1951, 9.8% of Muslim population, the population was Muslim, 9.8. It has gone up to 14.2. This 4.2% increase in 60 years, 4 percentage point in 60 years means now from 10% to 51%, which is the majority, you will take 600 years if nothing changes. And a lot is changing. What is changing? Muslims are adopting family planning faster than the Hindus, which is why the gap is narrowing. It will narrow further. Priya ji, let me also first apologize, through this thing. We are talking of Hindu, Muslim. I hate to use this expression, but this topic demands, because this is all about comparison, whether Muslims are really producing too many children. So unfortunately, we have to keep talking about Hindu, Muslim.
No, I'm glad you made that point also, because that was coming out pretty stark. But that comparison is there on the table, so we have to talk about it, I guess.
Yes.
But you said Muslims are practicing family planning, are now doing a lot of family planning. Isn't there a link between family planning and the rate of literacy? The rate of literacy among Muslims is not too high, or is it high?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And, instead of a debate on religious line that Hindus or Muslims, then, the religion is against it. Although that is a myth which I have tried to dispel among the Muslim mind. Now, actually, the factors which determine family planning behavior are mainly 3. There are several, but there are mainly 3. Literacy, particularly of girls. As the literacy goes up, the number of children goes down. Second is income. As the income goes up, with prosperity, the number of children goes down. And with service delivery, doctors, nurses, and hospital contraceptives, if they reach the population, the birth rate comes down. So in all these 3 factors, Muslims are the most backward, which means, when you go to a doctor with a headache, you will not tell the doctor that you got a stomach ache, because if you diagnose it wrongly, he will give you a wrong medicine. So we have been barking up a wrong tree, giving it a religious color actually was counterproductive. Have we addressed literacy issues? Have we talked of Muslim education and Muslim schools, their improvement? If at all, even the little education which some madrasas give, madrasas are attacked. Now, madrasa is also highly misunderstood. Madrasa is just an Urdu word for a pathshala. Call it pathshala, is the same thing. So, and most madrasas, the only difference is that besides teaching Hindi, Urdu, and mathematics, they also teach the Quran, because that is why Muslim people send their children to a madrasa or mosque, because mostly they are in the interlinked, to learn the Quran. Everybody wants to learn religion, wants children to learn religion, besides, of course, the contemporary education. So we should focus on education. We should focus on prosperity, income, poverty. Now, instead of, have you heard the people talking about increasing Muslim prosperity. On the other hand, they are talking of their economic boycott. Every other day, from Karnataka, from here, Muslim shops will not be allowed. Don't buy vegetables from a Muslim vendor. Don't buy. Now, if you don't buy and if you do economic boycott, he will become poorer, and poorer people produce more children. Then there will be a greater cause for complaint. So actually, these factors. Now, even the service delivery, I have heard it many times. You may have heard it also that every Muslim cluster is described as mini Pakistan, and nobody wants to go to that mini Pakistan. If you don't go there, if the doctor doesn't go, how will family planning happen? So that's why these are the determinants of family planning behavior, literacy in the income and service delivery, and we need to address them. In fact, if I Priya ji, if I may also add one point, as it is convincing any people, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, anybody, convincing them about family planning has been quite a tough job in the past. Now people are coming forward more readily. Now, if suppose I have decided, yes, I want to do family planning, but the services are not available to me. It is called unmet need. My need is not being met. The maximum unmet need is 16% among the Muslims. That means they're keen to do family planning, but the services are not reaching them. If we can have a campaign to reach out the services to them, you will notice their figures will shoot up.
Rishi Sahgal, I asked you, what does thank you. Yes, I wanted to show the book also. What does the Islam have to say? Does it forbid family planning? Does it, the Quran? What are the concepts over there?
Yeah, in fact, that is another interesting thing which I discovered in that when I was researching, that contrary to public perception, including mine then, I found that Islam was far ahead of its time, and it was promoting family planning in a very big way. Now, everything which Allah wants to prohibit, like for instance, drinking is haram, taking interest on giving loan to the poor is haram, sex outside marriage is haram, and there is a verse in the Quran where Allah says that whatever I wanted to prohibit for you, I have explained to you in detail. Nowhere in the Quran family planning has been prohibited. It cannot be anybody's case that Allah forgot to mention family planning. Now, there is no forgetfulness in the case of Allah. So the fact that there is no prohibition, there are several verses of the Quran which people interpret. There are only interpretations. Some are for, some are against. Mainly the most cited interpretation against family planning among the Muslims is that there is a verse which says that do not bury your daughter. Those days in the Jahiliyyat period of Arab, the girls were buried alive. Not that it is not happening now. A female feticide is exactly the equivalent to killing of the girl children then. So God is warning, look, for fear of poverty, because that was the excuse given. Do not kill your daughter for fear of poverty, because if they are born, we will feed them. Now, Muslims interpret it differently, that, Allah is guaranteed feeding everybody. So you keep on producing children, He will keep on feeding. That was not the interpretation. So, in fact, I have cited one verse of the Quran, which is clinching for me, where Allah is saying, it addressing young men, when you have the means, you must marry, because it will keep you from looking at other women with lust and desire. And until Allah gives you the means. Now, the fact is, if you have the means, when you have the means. Now, that is also Government of India's policy. That is why we have a marriage age. Why is the marriage age 21 and 18? Because it is expected by 21, a boy will have the means, will start earning, and will be able to support a family. 18, why 18 for girls? Because by then her body will be maturer to be able to produce children.
What about polygamy? The other way of interpreting it is,
I'll come to that.
Man, you can marry many wives and have 2 kids from each wife.
I'll come to that. But this is the important point which you raised. Let me finish it. That the fact that this ayat is saying that only when you have the means you should marry. So somebody went to the Prophet seeking an explanation. Look, I am a poor man, but I have my sexual needs. What should I do? So Prophet repeated that you must marry because it will keep you from promiscuity. Till then, you should resort to fasting because fasting suppresses sexual desire. So even the tariqa bhi bata diya kaise kare. And finally, what clinches the argument for me, another hadith, which is a tradition of the Prophet. Somebody went to the Prophet and he said, I have many children, I don't want any more. And I want to practice al-azl, which is withdrawal method, coitus interruptus or withdrawal method. That was the only method known those days. So, and he says, but a Jew is saying that it is a minor infanticide and don't do it. So Prophet said, no, the Jew is wrong, the Jew is wrong. Which means if you want to practice that, it is perfectly valid. I think these three verses from the Quran and two hadith, together, they are a complete prescription for family planning 1400 years ago when there was no population pressure. That's why I have said that although some Muslim clerics have criticized me for this, then 1400 years ago when there was no population pressure anywhere, now Islam is talking of spacing the family, delaying the marriage. I think now the second point about polygamy. Polygamy is the most misunderstood issue both among the Muslims and the Hindus. One slogan which we have heard from top leaders is "Hum panch hamare 25," yani me and my 4 wives are 5 and hum milke together 25 bacche aur hum 4 hamare 40. I have never seen even one Muslim with 2 wives, not to talk of 3 or 4 and for 25 and 40 children. Now, polygamy is statistically impossible. It cannot happen. Why? We don't have the women. As you must have heard, the gender ratio is adverse. For 1,000 men, there are only 920 women, which means 80 men do not have even one wife. Where will I get my second, third, and fourth? So it is total.
It's statistically impossible, but it is happening. There may be. So why not just ban it altogether? And
yeah, good point. Yeah. In fact, that's what I've said. Now, the second thing, I'm glad you brought it up. I've mentioned one study of Government of India, 1975, which found that all communities have some polygamy. Tribals, 15%, not Muslim, and Buddhists, Jains, and Hindus. The least polygamous were Muslims, according to Government of India study. Now, my case is that, but at the same time, Muslims are willing to die for the right of polygamy. And look, my appeal to them is, look, when you are not practicing it, so why fight for it? In fact, you demand the ban, and the others will protest. Therefore, I agree with you that polygamy should be banned. Because, and third point, the interesting point, if there are no women, how come polygamy is possible? When as I told you, if 4-5%, 5.7% was the polygamy then, it is good for population growth, because studies have shown that only wife of a husband, if he produces 5 children, it comes down to 1.5 children from the second wife. In other words, if 2 women were to go to 2 different men, 5 and 5, they'll produce 10 children. If they go to the same man, so 5 plus 1.5, it drops down to 6.5. So therefore, polygamy has to be understood. Now, how do I dispel the myth about polygamy is right among the Muslims? There is only one verse in the Quran which says you can marry 2, 3, or 4. And वो सुन के मैं तो दौड़ के शादी करने निकल जा. लेकिन the complete verse is, provided you can treat them equally, and God only knows it's very difficult. Therefore, you are advised to marry one. Now, Muslim clerics say that it is a permission, not an injunction. It is a permission which is conditional, condition being equality. Now, one thing which clerics are missing, and I have questioned them, I said, actually, there is one more condition, a more stringent condition. This verse was revealed on the Prophet in the context of orphans and widows. Because of tribal warfare, there used to be many orphans and widows. And God is saying, treat the orphans and widows with compassion, fairly. Do not misappropriate their property. Do not exchange their good thing with your bad thing. And ideally from among them, you can marry 2, 3 or 4, which means it refers to widow remarriage. Okay, from among the widows, you can
Why
marry.
wasn't it put in one section or in a clear manner? At the end of it, this is left it open to misinterpretation. And, you're saying shortage of women. This is where the allegations of conversion come. That's why there's so many conversions happening, because they want to marry many women. There's shortage of women. All this comes in then, this argument.
Yeah. In any case, conversions are very, very few. Very, very, very few. And in fact, some of the conversions are because of the dishonesty of those Hindu men who want to get rid of their Hindu wife. And they, spuriously, they turn Muslim because Islam will allow them polygamy. That's bogus marriage. That is bogus conversion. In fact, there is a law commission report, detailed law commission report on that this should be discouraged. And Muslim clerics should also demand that this conversion is not acceptable. Just to get rid of your Hindu wife, you have become a Muslim in name, Therefore, this conversion issue also has to be understood in detail, not superficially. And eka-duka conversion hoti hai because a Hindu girl falls in love with Muslim man. Converse also happens, a little less, but it does happen. A Muslim girl can also fall in love with a Hindu boy. So love has no border, no barrier. To misinterpret that is wrong. And in fact, Priyaji, one thing which the entire discourse of this for the decades which has been missed, have you considered the problem from the point of view of Muslim girls? Every Muslim पढ़ा लिखा boy वो हिंदू लड़की से शादी कर लेता है, तो ये मुस्लिम पढ़ी लिखी लड़कियां कहाँ जाएंगी? ये बेचारी बैठे रह जाती हैं. उनसे पूछिए कितनी दुखी हैं. वो तो कहती हैं we are the aggrieved party. Hindu girls are walking away with Muslim boys.
So why can't the Muslim leadership clergy undertake these reforms instead of letting the now BJP is taking credit कि हमने triple talaq abolish कर दिया, we have reached out, we are looking after the Muslim women. They are trying to actually separate the Muslim electorate on gender basis because of this. So that is a grave issue problem. Yes. Or you don't think?
Yes, very, very good point. In fact, triple talaq should have been banned by the Muslims themselves, the Muslim Personal Law Board. In fact, when this issue was, before it came to the Supreme Court, I had tweeted. I had warned the Muslim Personal Law Board, look, if you do not ban it, this will go to the court and then you will cry. So when the ball was in your court, you should have taken this decision. The triple talaq is against the Quran. It is against Islam. It is totally despicable. And they should have taken this stand themselves. Not giving the opportunity to the Supreme Court, because if Supreme Court is start deciding or interpreting the scriptures, scriptures can only be interpreted by the experts of that religion. So the court knows the law, IPC and CRPC and all the laws, but court doesn't know the Quran and Gita, and for that we need clerics who are expert in that subject. So therefore, it was a grave mistake on the part of Muslim Personal Law Board, grave failure that they did not address it themselves, and Supreme Court came in and the government came in and they did it. But the banning triple talaq is a great thing. Of course, if
I'm going to cut you short and ask you, because we're out of time, one important question on this need. We are seeing again the need to bring in a uniform civil code. The conversation has started. Uttarakhand is already saying we are going to implement it. What is your reaction to that? Is it a good
actually, my feeling is it's a good idea. Let it be debated first. Let it be debated as pros and cons, because most of the debate is misinformed. If you are, as a media person, I suggest to you that you send your cameraman to 10, 20 people and they will all say, population, Muslim are producing, let us have uniform civil code. Let us ask them, why do you think there should be a civil code? Or they will all say, because Muslims are allowed 4 wives. So which means if we allow it to the Hindus, then they're happy. So therefore, it is entirely based on this perception beyond this 4 wives differential, which is imaginary. So it is a totally misinformed audience, and let there be an informed debate. And if hopefully there will be a uniform civil code, and uniform doesn't mean that Hindu code will be imposed on all communities. The best point from all communities should be taken, and it should enforce on everybody.
So basically what you're saying is don't see everything in just, especially this population myth in a Hindu Muslim lens. It has to be seen in a wider lens of, literacy, of social needs, healthcare infrastructure, and what you call unmet needs. So that's
Absolutely. In fact, if you see my PowerPoint presentation, there are many slides which will show if Muslims are at the bottom in any social indicator, Hindus are right next door, shoulder to shoulder. Actually, it is not a Hindu versus Muslim. It is Hindu and Muslim issue. They're both backward. And wherever they're both backward, they're backward in family planning as well.
This argument actually gives, your book and the conversation today gives one hope that there is a way forward, that there are not just rigid stances in every community, but there are people like you who are progressive, who are willing to, have a conversation. And I think that applies to all communities. So I hope, as you said, we can get together and bring about a decent uniform civil code that takes the best points from every religion, because I have a feeling that is where our political narrative is headed towards. But for now, thank you so much, Qureshi Saab, and congratulations on your new book. Thank you.
Thank you, Priya ji.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.